Hey everyone, this is Mr. Zach, and welcome to our online children ministry program at CCUC.Children Church. As we are in our new series, Pixel Party, where we are using pixels to help tell our Bible story for today, we are going to learn about how God's forgiveness is as big as the ocean, so we can bring all of our mess-ups to Him. So, let's get into it. So how I'm doing the lessons is, again, I'm showing you guys some pixel pictures on the side, and I will be explaining it through this Bible story and using these pictures as references to summarize our story at the end. Okay, so let's begin. One day, a Pharisee named Simon invited Jesus to have dinner at his house. The Pharisees thought that they were better than everyone else, and they did not like Jesus because they thought that he was lying about being the Son of God, even though he wasn't really. But we're not sure why Simon invited Jesus to dinner, but when he did, Jesus said, yes, of course. While Simon and Jesus were eating, a sinful woman came to Simon's house with a special jar of perfume. The Bible doesn't say what she had done wrong, but we know it was something really big. And when she saw Jesus, she dropped down on her knees and cried at his feet. She cried so hard that her tears soaked Jesus' feet, so she used her hair to wipe Jesus' feet with her hair. Finally, she then kissed Jesus' feet and poured perfume on them. When Simon saw what was happening, he said to himself, if this man was really the Son of God, he would never let this woman touch him. She's a sinner. When Jesus heard what Simon had said, he told a little story, also known as a parable. This parable is from Luke chapter 7, verses 41 to 43. As I read, 2 people owed money to a certain lender. One owed him 500 silver coins. The other owed him 50 silver coins. Neither of them had the money to pay him back, so he let them go without paying. Which of them will love him more? Simon replied, I suppose the one who owed the most money. You are right, Jesus said. Then Jesus said to Simon, you didn't give me water to wash my feet, but she washed my feet with her tears. You didn't greet me with a kiss, but she hasn't stopped kissing my feet since she's got here. You didn't put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. She has shown me so much love because I've forgiven her from so much sin. And there were other guests at the dinner table too, and when they heard what Jesus said, they were shocked because they said to one another, Who is this man who forgives sin? Then Jesus said to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. In our story for today, Jesus told a story about 2 people who owed some money. One person owed a little bit of money, 50 coins. The other person owed a whole lot of money, 500 coins. Why do you think Jesus told that story to Simon the Pharisee? Jesus was saying that Simon was like the person who owed 50 coins because he had a little bit of sin. But the woman was like the person who owed 500 coins because she had a whole lot of big sins. God forgave both of them, but the sinful woman was more thankful and showed more love because she had more sins forgiven. Just like the woman, have you ever felt like you had 500 coins worth of sin, which was too much? In other words, have you ever felt like you had messed up so big or so many times that you couldn't possibly ask God to forgive you? If you guys ever felt that way, let me show you guys something that may help you with that. This is a glass of water, but we're going to imagine that it's God's forgiveness, okay? These are Alka-Seltzer tablets. It used to help you if you have an upset stomach, but we're going to imagine that this is a little bit of sin, okay? All sin are a big deal to God, okay? But what's a sin that you think is pretty small, okay? So, let's see, what's a sin that's kind of small? Maybe like, thinking mean thoughts about someone, okay? You think that's kind of small, okay? So let's pretend that one of these Alka-Seltzer tablets are one of those small sins, okay? And we're going to put it in this cup, which is God's forgiveness, okay? I'm going to throw it in here. Yeah. Okay, so while that's going, look what happens when I drop it into God's forgiveness. It's bubbling, it's dissolving, and it's, eventually going to totally disappear. And that's what happens to our sins when we toss them into God's forgiveness. They disappear. God wipes them out. There's only one problem with this glass of water, it doesn't represent what God's forgiveness truly is. And it doesn't give us a picture of God's forgiveness because it's just one cup of water. But, God's forgiveness, how big God's forgiveness is, well, we're going to look at our Bible verse to help remind us how big God's forgiveness is, okay? So, let me read it. From Micah chapter 7, verses 7 to 19. It says, "You will completely wipe out the evil things we've done. You will throw all our sins into the bottom of the sea." Micah chapter 7, verses 19. God's forgiveness is as big as the sea. When we bring our sins to Him, it's like we're tossing the evil things we do into the ocean of God's forgiveness. And fun facts, do you guys know how big the ocean is? It's really big. It's 70% of the planet is covered in the ocean, and that's mostly the Earth. And the deepest part of the ocean is called the Mariana Trench. It's 36,000 feet, which is 11,000 meters deep. And that's very deep. And that if we even and if we compare how deep it is or how big it is, if we were able to throw Mount Everest into the ocean, it would cover the entire thing. In fact, if you would have to swim down 7,000 feet, you would have to. It would just be too big. But, besides all that, that's how big God's forgiveness is. It's as big and as deep as the ocean, Not only can it wipe out little sins, just like that Alta tablet, it can wipe out sins that are big as Mount Everest, Compare that little tablet to a giant mountain like Mount Everest, God can forgive all sins. So no matter how many or how few, no matter how big or how small, God's forgiveness can completely wipe out any sin. Though I think most of us probably knew that God's forgiveness could wipe out any sin. But sometimes we don't act like it. Sometimes we're too ashamed to ask God for forgiveness. We think, I just did the same sin for, the 1 billionth time. I can't possibly ask God to forgive me yet again. Or we think, oh my goodness, I just did the biggest sin on earth. God is going to be, so upset with me. But instead of thinking or asking, instead of asking for forgiveness, we avoid Him because of our thoughts like those. We pretend like it never happened and hope that God will just forget about it sometimes. But that's not what we should be doing. We should be like the woman in today's story. Even though she has done a very big and bad sin of mess up, she ran to Jesus. She fell down at His feet and cried out to Him. She threw her big sin to Jesus and was allowing Jesus to forgive her. Jesus completely wiped her sins away and forgave her. They were all gone and there were no more. So no matter how many times you sinned, no matter how many times you messed up and sinned against God, don't ever be afraid to go ask Jesus for forgiveness. So as I close, let me remind you all to close out our lesson is that God's forgiveness is as big as the ocean, so we can bring all of our mess ups to Him. I'll see you guys around.